So let's go ahead and begin in our module here, module 5, and this is going to be called Building Your Why. Now, as I was able to talk to some people about, about the lesson in itself, someone made mention to me that they would like to talk about the why again. So I felt like this was a great opportunity and a great time to build your why, because we're still somewhat in the beginning. We're only on module 5. So it's good to go back for us. And for those of you who have not built a why yet, today we are going to learn how to build your why. And it's quite simple, but it has to be real to you. If it's not real to you, if you're not doing it for yourself, it's not going to work, okay? So we're going to work on building your why. This is going to be for yourself, and yes, it will incorporate family and things like this, but this is specifically for us as an individual and our why. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Lesson 1. Okay, we're going to have 3 questions here. I'm going to ask each one, and I want you to think about these as the individual questions, all right? Question 1, can you really change anything in your life without a why? Like your why is your reason. So can you really make any kind of profound changes, any kind of really important changes in your life, without a why? And I would dare say most of us probably could not do that. I know for the majority of my life, I would try to do it for this person and try to change for that person. But when it really came down to it and the rubber met the road, I had to do it for me. It wasn't going to work for anybody else. As much as I loved my wife and wanted to change for her and for my health, it just wasn't going to work. The only long-term stability that I have is my why, and it has to do with me. Okay? Has to do with me, my relationship to the Most High, then my relationship to my wife and my family. Okay, but it first has to start with you, because you're the one that's going to change. Next question. Do you consider a why to be important? If you do consider it to be important, why do you consider it to be important? If you don't consider it to be important, why don't you consider it to be important? You're going to have determination. You're going to have stamina. You're going to have perseverance. All of these things are going to be built into your why. That's why whys are so important. Most people won't get things accomplished without having a purpose. Okay, and that's going to be built along with your why. Question number 3. What is the purpose of a why? What does it really affect? What is the purpose of a why, and what does it really affect? So if you can't answer some of these questions, hopefully by the end of this, you'll be able to answer every one of these questions. And it's really important for you to do this and to go through this and to build your why. And I think you'll see that it's really overall going to help you overcome tough situations that you may go through, especially when we're dealing with food-like substances. They really take a hold of you if you don't get control of your why. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's start to build one from this point. All right, let's go. Okay, introduction to why. Let me give you first the definition of a why. We have scripture for this lesson. It's going to be at the end of the lesson, and we'll go over those. But for right now, the definition. The why is the deep personal reason behind your desire to lose weight or eat healthier. It is the foundation for a sustained motivation and perseverance. All right. This is a good definition. You're going to need it for your motivation and your perseverance. To continue doing what you're doing, you're going to need to build your why. All right. The importance of a why. For those who may think that a why isn't important, or you don't see why it's necessary to have a why, let's go through some of these. Number one, sustained motivation provides continuous motivation, especially during challenging times. You're going to have times that are going to be challenging to you, and you're going to have something to hold on to. This is what I call a why. I call a why anchor. It's like a boat that tosses an anchor. It may get tossed around by the waves, but it's going to stay in that same spot. It may go up with the waves and down with the waves, but it's not going to go too far from that location because that anchor is holding it in place. Number two, guidance and clarity. Okay, it helps in making focused and informed decisions. When you have clarity, my wife and I talk about this all the time. Having clarity is so important to get to the destination that you're trying to go to. You have to have clarity. You have to know what you're doing. And that clarity is going to help guide you. All right? So important to make sure that you make informed decisions. And with that, you have to have good clarity about what you're doing. Number three, resilience. I like to call it strength. Okay? Resilience, you're able to hold up under pressure. Okay? Strength. It reinforces your commitment and helps overcome obstacles. In this journey, there are going to be so many obstacles that you are going to have to overcome. Why? Because the world is built. It's built off of obstacles, especially when you are trying to do right, especially when you're trying to get to a certain place in your life. As you're going down your path, you're going down your road, there are going to be many obstacles that are going to hop in place. Some of your obstacles could be a spouse for some of you. Some of your obstacles could be family for some of you. You know, everyone has their own obstacle that they have to go through, but to have that strength or resilience, it's going to have to be incorporated into your why. You're going to have it. All right. Number four, focus. Focus. It ensures prioritization of actions and decisions that align with long-term health goals. You're going to have to be focused in what you're doing. If you're not focused, it's going to be awfully hard to obtain what you're trying to get. Okay? Actions and decisions that align with long-term health goals. You have to prioritize. So what is your focus going to be? How are you even going to focus on where you're trying to go? All right? So these are the importance of a why. Sustained motivation, guidance and clarity, resilience, and focus. Okay. Steps to identify your why. Steps to identify your why. Number one, self-reflection. This is huge. Think about what matters. Spend time contemplating your core values, your beliefs, and long-term aspirations. Think about what you're made of. Think about what is important to you. Think about your belief system. For many of us who have biblical belief systems, that's our guide. That guides us in what we do. Okay, so your beliefs, long-term aspirations. Where do you want to be? What do you want to aspire yourself to in the long term? What do you picture yourself? Where do you picture yourself being, maybe living? What do you picture yourself looking like even? Okay? All right, let's go to number two. Ask deep questions. Why do I want to lose weight? See, there has to be a purpose as to why you want to lose weight. Is it health? Is it you just want to fit into a swimsuit? Like, why do you want to lose weight? What will achieving my weight loss goals allow me to do that I can't do now? You know, I remember going to a theme park and getting into a roller coaster, and that roller coaster was awful snug. I was very uncomfortable. It was like I was squeezing my way into that seat, and it was like I saw a gap between where that bar was and where that seat was because I was in the way of it. So, what things are you going to want to do that you can't do now? Process that, write it down. Okay, how will my life improve with proper eating habits? How will my life improve with proper eating habits? So just think about that. How is it going to? Is for those of you who are married, is your marriage going to improve? Ladies, is your husband going to come chasing you around the house? Husbands, are you going to be in a position or be in a mood where you'll chase your wife around the house because you can? What are the things that you're going to do? Are you going to go bike riding, maybe jogging? Are you going to go walk 2 or 3 miles? Whereas now you may not be able to do that. Okay, so ask yourself the deep questions. They are important. They do help you build your why. Okay, number 3, visualize the future. If you're not looking ahead, if you can't see where you want to go, you're going to be held back. Okay, imagine success. Picture your life after achieving your goals. How do you feel? What has changed? When I look at my life after I achieved my goals, my life went in a totally different direction. My thought process went in a different direction. Things that I wanted to do, different direction. Places where I want to live, different direction. Foods that I want to eat and don't want to eat, different direction. It's going to change your life. So visualize your future. Where do you want to be? All right, number 4, write it down. You have to write it down. Documentation is crucial. Write down your why to make it tangible and revisit it regularly. Write down your why to make it tangible and revisit it regularly. You're going to come into situations, or you're going to run across situations that's really going to get you close to stumbling sometimes. And sometimes all it really takes is going back and looking at that why. Yes, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing this. For me, it is, I want my Father in heaven to be pleased with me. That was my biggest motivation. I did not want to stand in front of my Father and had this stone, this big drop in my gut that I knew that I was standing before him and I knew that I did not serve him. I did not want to stand before him with that on my mind. So what is it for you? What is it going to be? Okay, revisit it regularly. And lastly, number 5, share your why. Share it with people. Community support, discuss your motivations with a supportive community, friends, or family to reinforce commitment. See, that's what the membership is really about. It's about being around a community of people. But in order for this to work, you have to communicate. In order for this to work, you have to share your why with people. If everyone remains quiet, it'll never happen. If no one shares, it won't be a community. It'll just be a group that happens to get together and look over material. And that's not what we want this to be. We want this to be a community. Yes, we understand it's going to take some time for people to get adjusted, for people to really get to know each other. And then the community setting begins to come in. So that's why it's going to be important for each one of us, me, for you, for all of us to connect, to talk, to discuss those issues that are taking place. When we have our meetings, our question and answer session, those are perfect times to get together and build community. All right, so let's take advantage of those times that we have to build the community. It's so important that we do that. Okay, now that we understand what a why is, let's move into the types of whys. Okay, because not every why is important. All right, not everyone is important. So you're gonna have to look at your thought process and look and find out the importance of your why. Is your why important? Let's look and see. Okay, so there's these different types of whys, and we're going to go through each one of these. First is personal health concerns. Personal health concerns. This may come about by serious health issues. Conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure, or heart disease that requires immediate attention. Okay, now that why is going to be pretty strong. Matter of fact, that why is going to be potent. Why? Because there is a serious health issue that is about to take place, and if we don't take care of it now, we may not be around to take care of it. So that's a very important why. You see, that's different from somebody saying, well, I just want to go back home to my school reunion and I want to trim some weight off so that I can fit into this certain dress. That why is definitely different from the why of a person who has a serious health condition and may not be living if they don't change. All right? Preventative health. Okay, so why? Desire to avoid developing serious health issues in the future. Okay, now, one is serious health issue. Another one is I want to take care of myself so that I don't get to that place. So whys are different. There are different levels. You have to pick and choose and understand what level is your why at. Where are you right now? Do you have a serious health issue, serious health concern? And that's why you want to get this taken care of. All right? So let's continue. How about emotional and psychological factors? Emotional and psychological factors can be like self-esteem and confidence. The need to feel better about oneself and improve self-image. Listen, I will be the first one to tell you, when you begin to lose weight and people are coming up to you and telling you, hey man, what are you doing? Or hey sis, what are you doing? It looks like you're losing a lot of weight. That builds your confidence. It excites you. It's like super important. It helps you to be motivated to continue to do what you are doing, okay? So self-esteem and confidence, very important for a why. Okay, the next one is mental health. Improving mental well-being, reducing stress, and increasing overall happiness. You see, most people aren't aware of this, that this actually can happen. So this is something that you almost have to be taught, because most people don't realize that when we eat ultra-processed food-like substances, that it does affect your mind. It affects your mood. It affects your health. So mental health is incumbent upon what you are eating. Yes, there's traumas that we all go through, okay? There is trauma that we all go through. There are situations that I have had happen in my life in police work that affects me to this day. But when you have your mind correct, you're in the right state of mind. As you've heard me say many of times, your mind knows how to open up the file cabinet, put that situation in the file cabinet, and close the door. It knows how to do that automatically when it's nourished properly. When it's not nourished properly, that's when the emotional issues begin to happen as well. The trauma becomes more pronounced because we don't know how to deal with it. And it's because our minds are not at the proper state with nutrition and proper nutrients to help keep you at a good mental health level. Okay, so just remember that your food has a lot to do with that. All right, now we'll move into lifestyle and activity level. So what is your why? Why are you building your why? What is your why going to consist of? Energy and performance. Desire for more energy to engage in activities, sports, or daily tasks. Listen, so important this is. I probably sounded like Yoda saying it like that. So important this is. I remember my truck was parked just a short distance from my house, maybe 2 football fields away from my house. And one day of course, I wasn't like this, but I was back in my stage where I just ate what I wanted to. And I went out the door and I took off with a light jog. I could not jog, I bet you 100 feet. I had to stop. It felt like there was concrete on my ankles, like I could barely lift my legs. And I was like, man, I can't even run. Could I run to save my life? Honestly, I couldn't. I could not run. And at that time, I knew something was drastically wrong. Because if I was like that then, several more years down the road, I knew that my body was on the decline because I couldn't run. So energy and performance. Quality of life, number 2, quality of life. Improving the ability to participate and enjoy various aspects of life. Listen, no one wants to get old and have a poor quality of life. When I get older, I'll be glad to be older, number 1. I'll be glad to be around. But I want to be able to say, hey, sweetie, let's go take a cruise around the world. I don't want to be bedridden. I don't want to be at a place where my family really cannot take care of me because my quality of life is so bad. This is what ultra processed food-like substances will do to your body. Okay? So let's remember these things, and we're moving towards getting away from that, and we're moving towards having a sustainable life full of energy. I mean, there are 100-year-old people who jog. They live in the blue zones. The blue zones in the world are the areas in which the elderly people live the longest. People live the longest. People are riding bikes in their 90s. People are jogging in their 90s, taking off sprinting in their 80s. I just saw that the other day. Somebody in their 80s just like running across the yard. And I was like, man, 80 years old and they're running like they're young. So these, again, you hold on to these things so that you can have a long, exhilarating life. Okay, family and social reasons. Here we go. These are not the most important, okay? These are important, but this family and social reasons is not enough alone to change. Okay, family and social reasons. Number 1, role model. Setting a positive example for children and family members. Listen, this is so important. If you want to have an impact on your family, be a role model. Be a role model by eating what is correct, eating what is food, which is declared and set out in the Bible for us. The Bible clearly tells us what food is. When you do that, your family watches your body change. They watch your demeanor change, your attitude change, and they know it's because you've altered your eating habits. They know that it is. And then they begin over a period of time. Nobody's saying they're going to do it just like that, but over a period of time, they will begin to join in on what you are doing because they see the change that is taking place in your life. All right? Number 2, social settings. Feeling more comfortable and confident in social settings. When you're going to that meeting at work and you see all the food that's spread across the table and you're wearing those pants maybe that you never had been able to get into, or that dress that you hadn't been able to get into for a while, and you go into that social setting, you see the food spread across the table for maybe that meeting at the job. You're going to be so empowered by how you've changed, so empowered by the way that you look, so empowered by the way that you feel. it won't affect you. You're going to have confidence in those social settings because people are going to be coming to you talking about what you're doing. And then once again, you're going to be able to take that football, you're going to be able to pass that football on to someone else. So family and social reasons, they are great, they are awesome, but those alone cannot be the why. It has to be an encompass of all of these particular things. All right, personal goals and aspirations. These are huge because why? It's personal. It's about you. It's not about social. It's not about family. It's about you. So we're going to look at number one, milestones. Achieving specific personal goals such as fitting into a certain clothes or preparing for events. Now we talked about this in setting goals. Don't set unrealistic goals. Don't say, I'm going to lose 20 pounds in 1 week. Well, I actually did that. I wasn't intentionally trying, but it happened because that's just how awful my body was. And when it started getting the real food, my body started releasing a lot of water weight. And that's what a lot of us are going to lose. As a matter of fact, if you're starting now, you're going to lose a lot of water weight in the beginning. That's why you're going to see the weight dropping off in the beginning. But then it's going to start to level out and you're going to start to burn fat. So remember, in the beginning, you're going to lose a lot of water. And then afterwards, it's going to slow down and you may lose 2 pounds a week. That's because you're burning fat at that moment. All right. So set those milestones for you. What are you setting as a place to reach? And once you reach that goal, you celebrate it and then you set another goal for yourself. All right. Milestones are important. All right. Number two, long-term goals. Aspiring to live a longer, healthier life or achieve personal fitness milestones. What milestones long-term are you going to set for yourself? All right. So are you telling yourself that you want to be lean and muscular a year from now? You'll start to build those milestones to get to that place. Remember, don't set milestones or goals that you cannot reach because they will make you feel defeated if you do that. All right. Why some whys are more serious than others. Now, I came up with this because as I was thinking about the whole process of a why a while back when I was working on my why, I was like, why is it that, some of my whys are not as strong, but yet some are, so I had to figure out why there were different levels to a why. Okay, so let's go. Why some whys are more serious. Number one, urgency. Health-related whys often involve immediate risk or consequences. Remember, we just talked about that just a second ago. Health reasons. If your doctor tells you, Mr. Logan, your blood pressure is up so high, if you do not get your blood pressure down, you are not going to live long. How would you like for your doctor to tell you that? Okay, so these situations help build your why. It wasn't enough for me at the time. It was for about a week or so, and then I went back to what I was doing and the way that I was eating because it was so much easier. But it built on to my why. When I finally got to where I wanted to sit down and write out a why and figure my why, that was a part of it. Urgency. All right, number two, personal impact. Some reasons have a more profound impact on one's life, such as caring for family or avoiding life-threatening conditions. So true. So true. But this wasn't enough for me. I couldn't do it for my family. I had to do it for me. For some of you, you may be able to do that. It just didn't work like that for me. But, you're going to have impact on people's life. All right. So your family, for those of you who can do it just for the sake of your family, hey, more power to you. I'm glad that you can do that. That just wasn't my thing. It didn't work for me. All right. Emotional weight. The emotional significance of a why can make it feel more serious, such as overcoming a history of negative self-image. Okay, so we're dealing with mental and emotional issues at this time. Once again, if we eat the proper food, it puts us in our right place mentally. Mental health is so important. As we're hearing in today's time about people and mental health, people going through depression, people committing suicide, things like all of that is mental health. Again, provide the nutrients to your brain. It will begin to meet your emotional needs. It will begin to affect your life. All right, respecting different whys. You have to respect a why. Validation. Recognize that everyone's why is valid and significant to them. So just because Jane wanted to lose weight because she wanted to fit into a dress, I can't say, well, that's nothing. That just because that's her why. That's her why. That's what she used to help her get to the place where she fit into the dress. Okay, so just because her why wasn't as serious, that doesn't mean that it's not important. So we have to respect everyone's why. Your why is going to be different from my why. And maybe your why will be the exact same as mine. But regardless, let's respect each other's why. Also, number 2, support. Create a supportive environment that respects and encourages diverse motivations. That's why we're in a membership. This is where you can respect other people's motivations and you'll get cheered on by it. You'll get congratulated by your motivation. Okay, so once again, community settings are so important because they actually do support. All right, putting your why into action. As we're starting to round this section up, putting your why into action. Daily reminders. Revisit your why. Regularly remind yourself of your why to maintain focus and motivation. Know your goals. Short-term goals. Break down your ultimate goal into smaller and manageable steps. Remember, they have to be manageable for you. Don't set unrealistic goals for yourself. Also, your long-term goals, keep the big picture in mind to stay motivated for the long haul. Listen, you should be looking at yourself in the future in your mind's eye. You should be looking at yourself to see what you're going to be looking like. If you don't have those kind of pictures in your mind, then you don't have a goal to aim towards. So think about you being with your grandchildren and you all are out swimming and you're like lapping your grandchildren because you're in such great shape. So make those goals for yourself. They are very important. Okay, creating a plan, action steps. Develop a clear plan that outlines the actions you need to take to achieve your goals. So planning is really important. All right, tracking progress. Monitor your progress regularly to stay on track and make necessary adjustments. You see, I do this with my blood pressure. I may check it 2 or 3 times in a day, or I may go a couple of days and not check it, but I'm always checking my blood pressure to make sure that I'm staying within my limits. And let me tell you, normally when I'm out of my limits, it's because I'm eating something that may have sodium in it. Okay, I may have had store-bought hummus. As many of you know by now, I love hummus. And so if I make my hummus at home, there's not a problem. But if I eat store-bought hummus, especially the flavored kinds, there's so much sodium in it that it makes my blood pressure go up. And I'm aware of that. I know that. When I go to bed, I'm aware of it. Okay, seeking support. Community involvement. Engage with a supportive community such as the From Processed to Pure Food movement to share experiences and gain encouragement. All right? So maybe a little slow in that area right now, but the more people who are coming in, the more everyone gets used to each other, the more we're able to talk to each other, the more you're able to find out what my plans or my goals are. I'm able to find out what your plans or your goals are. We'll be able to help and encourage one another and be like somewhat of a family. So, like again, it's very important to be involved, to participate in the meetings. Okay, now let's look at a bar graph. The importance of different whys in weight loss and healthy eating. So we're just going to look at some of these whys real quick. Personal health concerns, that would be almost close to a 10. I mean, personal health concerns are like super important because if you don't have your health, you can't live. So that's why those would be urgent. That would be more like a 9 or even a 10. It just really depends on what graph, what ratios you're looking at. But I would say, I would put that up there around a 9 or a 10. Emotional and psychological factors, that's listed at around a 7. It may not be as important as your health as far as living, like, you don't want to develop cancer. You don't want to develop diabetes, okay? It may not be as serious as that, but it's still pretty serious. It's would be around a 7 on a scale of 1 to 10. Lifestyle and activity levels. So lifestyle and activity levels may be at a 6. Family and social reasons. Family and social reasons, you see they have that marked as an 8. It could be a 10 for you. Each one of these fluctuate person by person, but it's just showing you the severity of how important these are. Personal goals and aspirations, as you see, that's around a 5. So that will not be as important as urgency because of a health concern. All right, so you see how these are leveled out. So it would be around a 5. But for you, it could be way up there. And that's okay if it's not, and it's okay if it is. So we can now see how these different things really do affect our health. We see how it affects our thinking process. So really, when you sit down and you do your why, you're going to have to look at all of these factors. You're going to have to find out what's important to you, build your why, and you hold on to that why. All right? Hey, I will see you in the next lesson. Hey, thanks for the time here. I know this was a longer lesson. Our next lesson will be shorter to compensate for the time. But I hope that you enjoyed this. And just remember, you can accomplish whatever you want with your why. All right. I'll see you on the next lesson. Bye-bye.